I'm Dr. Neha Pathak, and welcome to our four-part interview with Dr. Daniel Clauw about the state of the art in the management of patients with chronic pain in a post-opioid world. Dr. Clauw is a professor at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, where he's running the largest clinical trial to date in people with chronic back pain. Our series will look at best practices for pain management referrals, how opioids fit into the treatment armamentarium, ways to optimize patient communication and expectation management when it comes to pain control, and approaches to multidisciplinary care. We're talking about how opioids fit into the treatment armamentarium when managing back pain. Hello, today we're talking to Dr. Daniel Clauw, a professor at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, who's running a major trial on treatments for chronic back pain. When I started practicing, it was really sort of opioid-centric in terms of our treatment modalities. And now the pendulum is swinging to what some people are calling Nopioids, where people just don't want to, primary care providers specifically don't necessarily even want to prescribe opioids. So how do you see opioids fitting into the multimodal pain approach, the way that we're thinking about managing patients with chronic pain?
Let me first acknowledge that as a pain researcher, I'm on one far end of the continuum with respect to opioids, and that I don't think opioids should hardly ever be used to treat chronic pain. And I really worry that I think I give lectures about this, that even those of us in the pain field haven't been as strongly anti-opioid as we should be. If you look at there's only been a couple studies that have randomized someone with chronic pain to opioids versus non-opioids and followed them for a year. The Krebs study 4 or 5 years ago, and then a very recent study did the same thing. And what people fail to note in both of those studies is that the group of people that received the opioids didn't not just do better than the non-opioid people, they did worse. And in both of those trials, when people got to a year out, the opioid treated patients had statistically worse pain scores than the non-opioid treated patients in two now long prospective trials where people were really randomized to either opioid or non-opioid therapy. And I have always worried that in any group of chronic pain patients, if you look at the ones on opioids, they always look worse in every way. And people say that's confound by indication. We put the people with worse pain on opioids. I don't think that's true. I think that opioids actually make a subset of chronic pain patients' pain worse. And because of that, we really should be just using these as a last line. People are refractory to everything else. They're just not the evidence base. And the other thing that I don't think people are aware of is how high the all-cause mortality is when someone is on an opioid. It's 70% higher or double in every year. And it's not because of overdose deaths. It's higher rates of myocardial infarctions, motor traffic accidents, suicides, a lot of other things that people die of at very high rates when they're taking an opioid. So I'm sorry about the rant, but I really do think we should be putting opioids where they were 25 years ago. Is you only use them when nothing else has worked.
I think that's really helpful, and I appreciate the sort of synthesis of the information, because I think that for a lot of us, it's very confusing, and it's also there's a regulatory hurdle. There's also sort of the patient expectation when they come into the office, and then there becomes this adversarial relationship sometimes because of what we have to do with regard to pain contracts or pain agreements, where you sort of shift from feeling like you're a doctor to more sort of becoming a detective. And I think that that leads to a lot of difficulty in that physician-patient relationship. Thank you so much again to Dr. Clauw for joining us and being our pain consultant, really helping us think about managing back pain in the post-opioid world.